information and okay. You got everything, Representative Roth? Got it? You good?
Yeah, I was looking. I got all these papers, and I was happy to find one.
Good. If you're happy, we're happy.
Thanks for checking.
Okay, so first, because of a time constraint, we're going to hear from Mike O'Neill with a proposal, and then we will circle back to Rachel Willis to finish the commerce budget itself. So, Mike, welcome to committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the accommodation. These are the days when you sometimes have to be two places at once. So I represent, I'm on. Blue light. Got the blue light special on. Does he need to adjust me a little bit? Yeah, I often need adjustment. But enough about that. I represent Bombardier, as most of you know. Bombardier is in Wichita. They are the U.S. group headquarters for Bombardier. And one of their newest companies is Bombardier Defense. What many of you may not know is the extent to which Bombardier Defense is already in the military circle, with working with the Air Force and the Army on using Challengers and Global aircraft and fitting them out to military specifications. Just to give you a little bit of idea on that, we've got the U.S. Air Force Bacon program using the Global 6000, working with Germany Luftwaffe in the Pegasus program, U.S. Army Ares program using Global 6000s, U.S. Army Athena program, Global 6500, and more recently with the U.S. Army, the Hades program, Global 6500. Some of the local, the area legislators around there were probably present on the site when we handed off the first Hades aircraft to the Air Force. So why are we here? We've started working with the governor's office really early in 2024 on a project that would allow us to actually reach top secret specifications with the military. Right now, some of the aircraft, we can build out everything except anything that might have to be outsourced because of the cyber security issues. We want to be able to take the next step and qualify for that top secret status. In Wichita, that requires actually physical separation on the campus between those types of projects that are going to be the individuals working there are going to have the clearance that they need that they wouldn't have to have in the rest of the part of the campus. So the appropriation request that you see on the yellow sheet, the 5.75 million, is what the governor put in her budget. And according, if you look at my testimony, the state portion of the budget recommendation will assist in creating physically separate infrastructure within the existing Bombardier campus in Wichita, suitable for hosting programs at up to top secret level. This is not just a one-off thing. This is what we would like to have, and the governor is recommending for the state portion. The Bombardier company investment will be a multiple of that, currently estimated at 3 times what that appropriation is. Give you, I know you're interested if you're adding money. You want to know what kind of return on investment we're looking at. I've asked them for estimates, and they're pretty impressive in terms of being able to continue with the defense cooperation with the military and advance this project so that we can work from beginning to end on these aircraft and not have to hand them off to a out-of-state subcontractor to finish out. $846 million in 25, $1 billion in 26, $1.01 billion in 27, $1.02 billion in 28, and $1.15 billion in 29. That's not only a boost to the local economy, but it's a boost to the state economy, and really makes Kansas a real player in national security with the military. You're hearing some concerning estimates about when we might have to engage with adversaries. A lot of what they're doing is surveillance. These are not gunships. These are high-altitude aircraft that are able to communicate with all of our forces on the ground in real time. The Bacon Project, you can translate anything in any language, cell phone from a commander on the ground, and get it to the right place. Some of these aircraft are there for detection, high-altitude detection. So that we know we always hear about the Strategic Air Command. This is 2.0 or 3.0 for strategic surveillance. Again, I'm probably giving you more information than you need. Invitation is open to everybody to come down to the Wichita campus and take a tour. Can't show you everything, but it'll give you a good idea of what's going on in the military side. Everybody pretty much knows what the private sector commercial and private aircraft side is, but this is an exciting addition that I think is going to pay huge dividends to the state. So I think we can guarantee a good return on your investment of state funds. Be happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Mike. Questions of the committee. Representative Alcala.
Madam Chair. Hey, Mike, so the off-site or on-site facility that's the one that has the extra security and top secret, whatever you call it, is that in the same location?
It actually, so the address of Bombardier is 1 Learjet Way. This will be 2 Learjet Way. It's literally across the road. And so it will be on the same campus, but it will, for obvious reasons, it will need to have its own set of security in and out, but it will be on the same campus.
And the reason I ask that question is because, so I'm going to pitch you here a little bit, and I know it's probably beyond any decision-making, but so here at Forbes, you know, we have all that land out there. We have all those vacant hangars out there also that are on the west side of the Air Force Base. Also, we have the Air National Guard out there, so which makes it a really high secured area. And so just so people don't forget, that land's always available for development out there. And you don't have to worry, I don't have to, if you work at one plant and I work at the other, I'm at the top secret plant, I don't have to worry about running into you in the city having discussion.
Exactly. I don't know how correct I am about this, but it's my understanding that Forbes is maybe in the running for the new replacement for the KC-135, the 46 project, which would be, again, fabulous if Kansas and Topeka were able to
In the
land
running
that.
with Salina, but I just wanted to pitch that
Yeah,
out there.
no, I
Just so
appreciate
people
that.
don't forget, we're still
Yeah.
there.
And I would be remiss,
you.
I'm trying to go too fast here. I would be remiss in not giving a shout out to all the help that we've received from Commerce and the extensive conversations that went in with the governor's office. Okay, how much do I owe you? And it's actually silenced. Where was I? Yeah, all right. Short-term memory, you know, it's gray hair, all that.
Hey, watch it.
Oh, sorry, Madam Chair. You look marvelous, by the way. Yeah.
A lot of us resemble that gray remark.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I was starting to say is we were engaging with the governor's office long before this newfangled legislative budget committee process came up. So we knew in terms of due diligence that that's where we needed to start. And we appreciate very much the work that went into this, including a trip the governor made to Montreal, which is the Bombardier headquarters there, and then the Farnborough air show in England, where they further engaged, and they had a lot of military advisors together, and it all kind of came together. So it'd be a shame not to get this across the finish line.
Thank you, Mike. Questions? Representative Carlin, then Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize, but I was looking for your testimony, and we were both looking for it. And so would you just give me the paragraph that would be in our budget if we had it in our budget, which is not in our budget document, or I can't find it?
Well, the item is on your yellow sheet.
I saw that, but could you just give me the short story again? How much are you asking and what's the main project? I'm just, sorry, I didn't get it.
Yeah, our initial ask was 6 million, and the governor approved, her recommendation was 5,750,000. Yeah.
And it's to do what?
Okay, the little paragraph in my testimony is probably as easy as anything to recite. The state portion of the budget recommendation will assist in creating physically separate infrastructure within the existing Bombardier campus suitable for hosting programs at up to top secret level. So it's mainly an infrastructure ask, with everything else about the project being financed outside of what we're asking the state for.
Short answer, that's a building.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, it's more than a building, because there'll be other things that are needed, but that's essentially, it's an infrastructure ask. Yeah.
Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you approximate number of permanent jobs, not the construction part, but would Bombardier be hiring 100 people permanently working there, or can you give us an estimate?
There are currently about 1,200 employees working at the site on the Bombardier defense side. Now, I can't tell you what this SGF portion would contribute to new jobs, but everybody that's working there is going to have to either come in and be trained at top secret level and qualified, or existing personnel move over to that, and then that we backfill on the non-military side in the campus. And I will try very hard to get you a number, because I realize I didn't give you one. But it's and they'll ramp up over time. So we're talking hundreds, but I wouldn't say thousands. But I can get that number if you'd like to have it,
Thank you, Mike.
or at
Thank
least
you,
an
Madam
estimate.
Chair.
At least an estimate.
Yes, we would appreciate an estimate. Any other questions? Representative Carlin.
Thank you for the second time. After that question, made me realize, are you going to be asking for any other incentives from our economic development incentives, such as we did for Sprint years ago, or Spirit?
No, it's not anticipated. And full disclosure, I think the number went from 6 million to 5,750 because they already qualified and have received from Department of Commerce. I can't remember what source of funds it was, but it was a grant for 250,000. So I think that was seen as okay. Now you've totaled between SGF and a grant that you've already received. There's your 6 million.
Well, okay, thank you. I just wondered if other economic incentives would be asked, and you don't expect. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Carlin. I have a question. When you were starting to talk about this is mostly going to be surveillance information, correct? We're not taking anybody into war or anything like that. This is
Right.
just,
And I can get you more information, but there's actually the Bacon Project, the Pegasus, Ares, Athena, and Hades. They're all basically surveillance, communications, that sort of thing. We're not anticipating manning them with 50 millimeter, whatever the big guns are.
thank you. Any other questions for Mr. O'Neill?
They would support, however,
Oh, absolutely.
the aircraft and infrastructure that does do that business.
Okay. Seeing no other questions or comments, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, now we will shift gears and go back to Rachel to finish up the commerce budget for us.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I was trying to quickly find the source of the other funding that we have provided them. So give me just one second here. I might have it in my notes. I'm not quickly seeing it, so I'll follow up with that.
Thank you.
But as I finish out my testimony regarding our budget, the commerce budget, I did want to have a little bit of conversation about the reductions that Commerce is proposing after we've heard the requests, right? So we know that budget reductions and trimmings are happening across the board. And so we wanted to come to you and present a thoughtful, what we would call proposal compared to what is in your particular budget bill at this time. So I think everyone has a copy of the chart that we've put together, and I'll start first with reappropriations. We would ask, so if you remember from yesterday, our total reappropriation dollar amount is $5.9 million. We do ask that you restore 3 million of that. And again, it's because the agency has spent those dollars and the time that's lapsed between figuring all of this and hearing about the legislative special budget committee's decisions on reappropriations. So we would ask that $3 million, so just right at half of our total reappropriations, be restored in our budget. So then if you move to the second page, you'll see a chart there that talks about what we anticipated our FY26 base allocation to be, what then in the second column there, what is in your budget bill as far as our base allocation, and then what we're proposing. So essentially what we've done is work off of your budget and just shift those dollars so that it better aligns with our priorities and what we would consider our core work here at Commerce. And I think the most important thing that you'll take a note of is at the bottom there, we come down to almost the exact same dollar amount as what is proposed in your budget bill. So not looking to spend any more than what you have proposed, just asking for it to come in through different kind of buckets or categories of funding. So the first one that I wanted to point out on that chart, so again, it's just shifting money, but again, coming back to that same dollar amount as in your budget bill. The first one is related to public broadcasting, so we're taking that dollar amount back to $500,000 in the budget bill. In your all budget bill, it's $700,000. So we would just like to return to what their kind of long-term allocation amount has been. The next is the Build Up Kansas program. Again, returning it to full funding, what they've received in the past, which is $625,000 more than what's in your proposed budget. If you go down to you skip one and you go down to kind of the next category there in the middle of the page is international. We're willing to take a reduction here from our base allocation, but it's an actual slight increase from what's in your budget. We've been very fortunate in the past couple years to receive some great enhancements related to international, and we've built that division up, but we understand the times that we're in now. We would ask that you fully restore the broadband funding, and so you'll see that amount back in our budget bill, or budget proposal. The Sunflower Summer Program will be the next kind of large bucket that you'll see some changes in. Here, after talking to lots of folks and understanding that it's an expensive program to manage and offer, right? We believe in it. It adds lots of value. It does great things for our tourism here in the state, but we just don't know if it's sustainable. And again, thinking about what is our core functions here at Commerce. So willing to take that program and think about ways that we can shorten it. So right now it's offered through it starts like May 25th and it goes to August 11th. So there's ways that we can shorten down that time frame that program is offered. Currently, you can have 2 adults and then the kiddos can go to that attraction for free and we reimburse them. We could limit that to just maybe 1 adult, right? 1 guardian for those kiddos. So there's some different ways that we could trim this down, but still make it meaningful and fulfill its purpose. So in our proposal, we're asking for $1 million in FY26. The next bucket that we're willing to take a reduction in is the Love Kansas marketing campaign. And again, reducing this by $500,000. we keep going, you'll see that we are willing to go ahead and remove or suspend the emergency HEAL program. So we think that we can do that work with our current HEAL program, and then that we don't have to have two programs there. So we're reducing that and eliminating that program, which is a $500,000 ask.
Rachel?
Yeah.
Just,
Yep.
would you mind explaining to the committee and the gallery what the HEAL program is, just very briefly, for those that might not be familiar with it?
Yeah, so it's a program that we run out of our Office of Rural Prosperity, and it focuses on restoring and fixing up, if you will, our old historic buildings in our rural downtowns. So we think it's a vital component to economic development, right? We want to spur activity and business growth in our main streets or on our main streets in rural communities. And so we've created that program. This emergency HEAL is specific for buildings that maybe have recently had a storm, right? So there's a lot of hail damage, or maybe there was a recent fire and immediate work needs to be done to restore that building and hopefully prevent any further damage to neighboring buildings and that sort of thing. But we're comfortable, and we think that at least now, knowing the intent of the legislature, to try to wrap that up into our main HEAL program. So,
Thank you.
the next one is tourism. We would like to see those dollars restored to our FY26 base allocation. So coming up a bit there. And then the last one is that we shift funds around is the small business R&D program. So that's research and development for our small business. And we're willing to reduce this by $500,000. The program has not really kicked off the way that we intended and wished for it to, mainly because of our, we've had staffing issues, honestly, in that department. And so it's taken us a while. So now we think that, again, given our current circumstances, this would be a great opportunity to pull that one back a bit, run it as a pilot program with our new staff, and see the demand and really analyze and evaluate the results of that program. And then we can always come back next session and ask for additional funds if that pilot program takes off. So those are our proposals as it relates to the budget. And again, just really wanting to emphasize, we just shift money around to different categories to get us back to that same dollar amount that has been proposed in your budget bill.
Thank you, Rachel. Questions from the committee? Representative Alcala, and then Representative Curtis.
So Rachel, can you tell me why the cut to public broadcasting? And
So,
what was looked at, and then how was that determined?
yep, so public broadcasting got that enhancement late last year, and they've been pretty steady at that $500,000 allocation. And so we thought with the little boost last year that steady $500,000 would be appropriate to go back to.
So, but the request was 700,000, is that correct?
No. So
That was the allocation.
no, 700,000 was what was put into the legislature's budget bill. What the governor approved and what's in her budget and what's in our FY26 base allocation is 500,000.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Representative Curtis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so, Rachel, I see that you all are proposing to restore some of the funds for the broadband office. So does that bring us back to about the same level of funding then that we've been at in the past? So we're able to continue to provide that support?
Yes.
And then if I may, Madam Chair, I have a question on another one. On CAIC, which now I think we are referring to as the Kansas Arts Commission, that stands for the Creative Arts Industry Council, I think. You're proposing to bring that, we were at 1.5 last year, which allows us to secure all of the federal dollars that we are eligible for, and it's taken us a good 8 years to get from $250,000 to, again, a $1.5 million, which is our full funding for federal dollars. And it looks like you kind of have a little bit of a haircut there, but, okay. And then, let me look at the rest of them. Those are my two first questions.
Anyone else?
So the Representative Curtis is correct. So our ask is right at $1 million. We have changed the name. It's just the Kansas Arts Commission, just trying to keep it real simple for folks to know and be able to recognize. But yes, you're correct.
Other questions? Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we look at the broadband office, is there a way, how important is it that it has its own line? I mean, how does that, I mean, outside of the dome, outside of Topeka, when we're looking at getting grants, getting other things, implementation, does it need to show it stands alone on a budget line, or can it be put into operation so things can continue onward? I'm just, thinking of, again, getting out of this room over there.
Sure, that's a great question. So this funding started when the governor created the Office of Broadband Development. So it was our initial dollars so that we could bring staff on so we could then write for those federal grants, right? So we knew that there was all these federal dollars potentially coming down, so we needed staff to write for those. And then since then, that staff is now what's supporting all of those federal dollars. The federal grants have caps as far as administration, and then within each of those grants, there's specific things that those folks can actually support and do, and other things they can't. And so these dollars really had the less strings, if you will, and are absolutely our boots on the ground folks now that will help monitor and make sure that all of those federal dollars get out to our communities, get out to our providers, and that folks in rural Kansas across the state can have access to broadband. So if we lose these dollars, we're going to really put all of our federal funding in great jeopardy. I think the original thought was that it is a specific line item in our budget because we have created that division, right? That kind of group, just like we've got a quality places line item, right? And that's all of our community development work and our Main Street work. So it was just a way, just like international, so you could kind of see what's dedicated there. I think there's a way, and I think it makes a lot of sense to potentially roll it up into maybe our operating grant and talk about how does the Office of Commerce, the Agency of Commerce, work to support infrastructure related to economic development, right? We know that broadband's part of that infrastructure piece. Maybe we get to a point where, internet is not on the table anymore and we're back to really talking about roads. Maybe it's more water or sewer or some of those things, right? That's all infrastructure that's needed to support economic development. So I think the place that it could just be in that main operating grant.
Madam Chair, thank you. I know we're going to go long, probably. I'll try not. But because you said now it could threaten federal grants. Now, I thought you said that these were hired to pull down the federal. So all our federal money has not been pulled down. I mean, you read news accounts, we've got millions and millions of dollars. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out on this, and do you talk with Kate? KDOT has some money for this broadband. We're trying to find different ways to do it. I assume this Office of Broadband is the clearinghouse even for transportation and everything else. And so, and last I know there's a lot of sub-questions here. I'm just trying to do one big question. The salaries are, I guess, the role of these folks that you've hired, are they also they understand IT? Are they IT professionals? You have to pay them like IT folks, or, an average kind of state salary? But I'm assuming, I'm just trying to, again, make sense of all this as we try to move forward.
Yeah, so their original purpose was to write those federal grants and help us pull those down. Now we've done that. So now they work with our federal partners at NTIA to administer those grants, right? So we just held the grant competition for BEAD, which is the largest pot of those federal dollars. That our staff, pushed out those applications. They held office hours related to those applications, so providing that technical assistance and making sure that all the providers and communities understood that there was this opportunity for them to apply for these grants. Now that has closed, and now it's this team that will help review those grants and make recommendations then to our federal partners on funding all of these particular projects that have applied and we've identified as the best. Once we get that approval, then they will work with those providers and those communities to make sure that they are doing exactly what they said they were going to in those grant applications.
Go ahead,
I
Representative
want that
Rogers.
I'm not getting that question answered. If the funds are already there, the grant money's down, why would it be in jeopardy if this program isn't funded? That's what I'm trying to, that's the peanut of it.
Yes, thank you. Because there's no one to monitor to make sure that those awardees that we've identified are actually doing what they said they were going to in all of those grant applications.
Can you tell me what the BEAD grant is?
I'm gonna test my acronyms, but I have a cheat sheet, so bear with me. Broadband equity, access, and deployment.
Okay, I'm going to take a minute and write that down, so everybody take a breath. Okay, thank you. Any other questions about Commerce's proposal? Would you mind, at the bottom of that page, you've got proposed Commerce's SGF budget. Would you, this box right here?
Yeah, so almost all of Commerce's dollars come from the EDIF fund, right? So there are three small categories of funding that we receive from the State General Fund. And those are to support the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, Advantage Kansas, and the Micro Internship Program. So out of those, our number one priority is Advantage Kansas. These dollars help to support our efforts to support small businesses across the state. So we feel like that is the highest priority out of those state general funds.
Thank you. So you're pulling 700,000 away from a request for state general funds? Okay. And then as I look at their proposal above and their shifting or rearrangement of funds to come out within $1,000 of what HB 2007 calls for, thank you to the Department of Commerce for being very aware of what your needs are and then targeting the dollars to your highest needs and going on down the line. So I, for one, am very appreciative of that. Any other questions or comments about Representative Rogers?
No, I'm sorry. I should be an hour and a half late to committee. I'm so, is Luke on the line?
Charday has.
You can answer my
Has a vote.
question. Okay, and we may be ahead, but looking at all this, we've been dealing a lot with EDIF. And so are y'all doing a running total of where we are as far as if there are monies now in EDIF that have been taken back, or, we were overfunded, so do we know if there are, what the budgeted EDIF is, if there's $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 in EDIF that has not been accounted for going into 26?
Madam Chair, the green sheet that was passed out yesterday, there is an ending balance on that sheet that you can see, has that running total.
That's a running total?
That is correct. It does not have any adjustments that have been made after House Bill 2007, but we do that as we go through the process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Representative Alcala.
Chair, I apologize. I have a question for you. So the Love Kansas marketing campaign, when I look at this, I see kind of a duplication here in Shawnee County because Topeka Partnership offers the same type of program. And so I know of a few people, but I haven't known of a big, large influx. Can you tell me how many people have taken advantage of that campaign?
Yep,
And
yeah.
that would be relocating back to Topeka.
Yeah.
Or to Topeka.
That's a great question. Yes, so that Love Kansas campaign officially kicked off in July, so we're 7-ish months into that campaign. And you're exactly right. Our goal was to support and partner with local communities, so Topeka's and Independence and Dodge and all of those folks. Some of our smaller communities, even some of our larger ones, didn't have the resources to think about how can we build out a website, how can we really promote our community. So we wanted to use this campaign as kind of a template, right? So if you didn't have access to something like this, you could, because we know it's much more meaningful if someone from a local community reaches out versus Commerce. But we wanted to provide that support. And so Topeka is a partnering community. We've had right at 30 people move back to Kansas since the launch of the campaign, but no one to Topeka for your specific question. Yes, yep.
I don't have one. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. Any other questions for Rachel? So just as a recap, as I'm seeing this, Commerce is requesting $3 million back for reappropriated funds, plus what you have listed here for 2026 on this page.
This page, does that have a page number?
No, it does not,
Okay,
but it's,
I don't have a
Color.
hard copy, so
you
okay,
should have.
I'll get it.
Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just a question, when we work this budget tomorrow, I too appreciate what Commerce has done. They've gone through and made it a little bit easier for us to look at, see where they feel the priorities are and where the buckets that they feel that they need the money. And so I appreciate that. That's very helpful. But as the Budget Committee, I'm assuming that we will be able to make some modifications to that, keeping in mind that perhaps we want to stay within that bottom line. But there is definitely a couple of buckets here that I feel we've kind of shortchanged and we just really can't afford to. So I'm just a question that tomorrow when we work the budget, we will have an opportunity to perhaps make a few adjustments.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Last call for all things Rachel Willis in the Department of Commerce. Thank you, Rachel. Representative Alcala.
Just so there's no surprises, tomorrow I do have an item on here I'd like to change. So just so everybody knows, so don't hit nobody by surprise tomorrow.
I think there's another one as well that we'll address.
Thank you.
So, okay. Now we will hear from Jaron Caffrey, the Director of Workforce and Healthcare Policy for the Kansas Hospital Association. Oh, you are not Jaron, you are Tara Mays.
I am so sorry, Madam Chair. Jaron Caffrey at KHA couldn't be here today. He was here yesterday. So you have the B team and me. I am Tara Mays with the Kansas Hospital Association. Really appreciate the opportunity to be before the Ag and Natural Resources Committee. Not something that you typically see the Kansas Hospital Association in front of. I am here really to testify to you all about an opportunity that we see within the Kansas Department of Commerce's budget that came to us from one of our hospitals. I will tell you, we had a rural hospital reach out to us last spring, and their question to us was, we would like to have our lab techs be able to do what is called saline locks. Now, I'm not clinical, so what that means exactly, I'm not sure, but it sounds like it's similar in nature to drawing blood, and it starts some saline for patients. What that hospital wanted to do was train their lab techs to do that startup. They called us because they said, gosh, KHA, the first place that we can find to do this training for our lab tech is, one, the training is 6 months away from today. 2, it's 4.5 hours away from our hospital. So as you might imagine, it began to raise some questions for us here at the Association of 121 Hospitals. We had put together a big collaborative workforce committee from hospitals across the entire state of Kansas, of which Jaren Caffrey on our team kind of led. And one of the recommendations they had was, gosh, this training, a training program could help a lot of hospitals, particularly our rural hospitals, but really across the board, to be able to upskill healthcare professionals. What I would say is, we hear from hospitals all the time that both attracting and retaining healthcare professionals is very, very hard. And so we went to the Kansas Department of Commerce and said, gosh, golly gee, we have this problem. It certainly to us falls into a workforce category. Do you have any other programs that you all have that might be something similar? And what we found is a little bit about the information that you all heard yesterday from the Kansas Department of Commerce on the KIT program. That is the Industrial Training and Retraining Program. What that is it allows the manufacturing industries to come to the Department of Commerce and say, hey, we have a few people that work in our industry that we can upskill their training so we can both attract and retain our talent in manufacturing. And we thought that such a program might be really, really helpful for our healthcare industry across the state of Kansas. I know I do not have to tell you that we are faced with a significant workforce challenge. And I don't know about you all, but sometimes when I'm looking at my house and the investments needed in my house, sometimes my budget might be tight, but there's some small foundational things that I can do. And if I don't do them, my expenses are going to be really, really big later on. And I would categorize my ask to you today as one of those foundational investments that will help hospitals to be able to both attract and retain and stretch our clinical resources across the state of Kansas. So functionally, what the program would do is it would allow that hospital in Jewell County that talked to us about their desire to train their lab tech to do saline locks, they could essentially partner with the long-term care industry. So it's hospitals, but it's not just hospitals. It's also our long-term care industry. And you'll see some written testimony and support from Leading Age Kansas, the long-term care industry. They can partner together and say, we found 10 to 20 people in the north central Kansas area that want to be trained on this. So the grant could pay for them to bring in a trainer to do a training for one day and send 10 to 20 people out in communities across that region of the state to do the work, to help resources, and to help our staff really relieve some of their needs internally and clinically inside a hospital setting. So we think that this is a great program, a great opportunity for you to invest a few resources to do this. Our ask is $2 million for that program. That is based solely off of what the manufacturing industry had when they started the KIT program. So we are asking for that to be mirrored when we think about a healthcare upskilling and training grant program under the Kansas Department of Commerce. And so we would ask that when this committee worked the Kansas Department of Commerce budget, they consider investing in our healthcare, investing in hospitals and employees across the state of Kansas to let us stretch those clinical resources and be able to do more with less at a critical time for our hospitals to be able to maintain nursing and clinical staff. With that, Madam Chair, I'm happy to stand for questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Tara. Questions from the committee. Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Tara, would this $2 million for the upskill training, would that just be for the Jewel County situation, or would that be for any of those techs?
Yeah, I use the Jewel County situation as an example, but we've heard from hospitals and nurses across the state of Kansas that think that this could be beneficial for them to be able to do some other types of training in their clinical settings to upskill and really stretch their clinical resource. So this would not just be for Jewel County, but it certainly would be a great resource and tool across the state for a lot of our hospitals.
And I know we have, in the past several years, focused a lot on different training programs and upscaling workers. Does this fit anywhere else? Is there any other program that would perhaps provide this kind of funding through any of our other efforts?
I certainly wish that there were other programs that we could look at. Unfortunately, right now, there really aren't a lot of training programs that would allow us to do on-spot training. What you might imagine happens if you're at a technical college or a community college, you can't provide a training for 10 people on the spot. You have to hire someone and plan for that and plan for classroom space. So it doesn't make sense for those higher education institutions to be able to do spot training. That's why we think that the flexibility of this program, the way that the manufacturing sector has done it, could work really well in the healthcare sector.
One last question, Madam Chair. You say that this training could be provided in Kansas City, Missouri. There's not an entity in Kansas that can provide this training?
The entity in Kansas that has provided the training in that example weren't going to be happening for the next 6 months to a year. So they weren't the first one that they had, and the closest ones that they had, those two combination of things, was in Kansas City, Missouri. That may not be the case for everything, and certainly wouldn't prevent a hospital from partnering with a community college to offer it more broadly if that were going to be the grant program that they would look at doing, but certainly wouldn't prohibit them from saying, we want to bring in someone to teach these skills inside the clinical setting in a hospital long-term care setting.
Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for being here, Tara. Appreciate you being here today. My question is, does this program have the potential long-term to, down the road, to help with agency nursing across the state?
That is a fantastic question, and thank you, Madam Chair, for that question. Our hospitals spend a tremendous amount of money in contract staffing, and that's not just in nursing, but even what we consider allied health programs, respiratory technicians, lab technicians, those types of things. And right now, we have to contract that out, and it comes at a significantly higher cost to our hospitals, which are already financially stressed. And this would greatly reduce the need for us to have some of that on that contract nursing and that contract allied health. So we consider it a savings also in the way that our hospitals could provide savings, and then we would be asking you for less money on some other requests across the board.
Okay, anyone else? Questions about this? And this program can be found on page 8 of our budget summary, number 3. That's correct, right? Yes. Reference to that program. So, and just a couple of things. Again, this is all across the state of Kansas and not necessarily just for hospitals right now, or yes?
Correct. It would be a statewide program, and it would allow either hospitals or long-term care settings. So if the long-term care setting wanted to get together just with their long-term care staff and say 20 long-term care staff members wanted to do a training, that would also be a part of this program, and they would be able to apply for a grant through the Department of Commerce for that training as well.
Okay. And these trainings would occur on-site in the facilities?
Potentially, but if they, for some reason, wanted to partner with a community college to do in a more simulated setting or a technical institution, they could do that as well. It would be flexible in terms of kind of the ability for them to set that up, however made the most sense based on the clinical training they were doing.
Okay. Any other questions? Representative Curtis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just looking at the page that you're referencing. So this is being proposed again to come from the EDIF funds. Is that correct? I think that's what we're looking at.
That's a good question. Yes. Research is saying yes, it would come from EDIF. Representative Carlin.
Madam Chair, just a clarification on the page I'm looking at, and mine could be different sometimes that happens, but page 8, number 3, you're asking, that enhancement request is for $1 million. You did say 2 million.
Our initial request is for $2 million, but the truth is we understand the budget situation that the state is in, and we would be happy to get this program off the ground and launched with $1 million as well.
And, okay, thank you. That's it, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time. Weeks ago, in discussions with my CA, and we were trying to get things scheduled, we had said if we had a few minutes that Level Up Kansas could be 4 or 5 minutes. So if there's a representative here from Level Up Kansas to talk about that program, and then after that, I'll direct your attention to the other written testimony, and thank you very much. Please state your name for the committee.
Thanks, Madam Chair. My name is Kaylee Lagasse, and I am the Program Director for Level Up Kansas. Madam Chair and members of the committee, we are asking for our $2.5 million in funding through the Commerce budget. Kansas's unskilled labor force is our state's best untapped resource. Thousands of Kansans are yearning to level up their skills and education, as proven by more than 35,000 Kansans who have continually raised their hand for this program in our first 17 months. Yet there is a massive chasm for adult learners who are balancing existing jobs, families, health issues, and all the things we know that life can throw at us. That is why Level Up Kansas exists. We connect adult learners to community and technical college programs, scholarship opportunities, apprenticeships, immediate job placement, and support so they can get off the starting line and start making a big impact in their own lives, but also our state's economy. We've been in the state Commerce's budget for 2 years, but as you can see from the testimonials that we have included in your packet, the impact on the state from many different sectors is profound. We ask that you continue funding this program at its current $2.5 million level. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Representative Roth?
Did you say this is already in the Commerce budget?
That's correct, but we're not in House Bill 2007.
Thank you.
Representative Rogers?
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yes, I appreciate it.
You've been here, what, about as long as we have. I think first day and then just keep coming back eventually. It's called persistence. So tell me a couple success stories. You know, we're all looking, you know, we go through this, there's 14 different programs and there's 14 new ones we got to fund. It's the next best thing. But you all kind of hit the ground running, I believe. So give me a couple success stories. Give me how you are helping grow the Kansas economy.
I think the biggest asset that we have at Level Up Kansas that nobody else has is our navigators. So our navigators, we have 4 navigators that I oversee, and they're helping adults troubleshoot the roadblocks that they're coming across. So it might be, you know, hey, the FAFSA is becoming an issue, or hey, here's the Kansas Promise Act scholarship that's available. Prime example, in the packet you can see a testimonial from Angel. Angel had some roadblocks, youth and into his young adult life. He came to Level Up, filled out our intake, and was matched with one of our navigators right away. From there, our navigator connected him to Hutch Community College, where he's now in their apprenticeship program. So that's just a prime example. There's several back in there, and then you can scan the QR code and watch those. But I do truly believe that our navigators are really, you know, navigating the situations of our adults, advocating for adults. I really don't think that there's anything out here like this where our navigators are going to continually follow up. They're not going to let them fall through the cracks.
How long will they follow up? Into perpetuity or?
Yeah, so right now we have a process set. It's different. It depends on which pipeline and stage they fall within. So if you are an adult who is pursuing some type of certificate or associate degree at the community and technical college level, we're going to follow up pretty extensively. So even after you've gotten applied and enrolled, we're going to follow up within mid-semester to make sure classes are going okay. Sometimes we've seen where people will reach back out and, hey, I'm struggling in classes. So we're going to make sure that they're aware of their resources that are available to them. Somebody who is looking for something like a GED, accelerated opportunity, or a diploma completion, we are following up via phone call on those pretty extensively. We have assigned those to one of our navigators named Martha, who's going to match them obviously with what route they want to go, but we've also kind of seen that people don't understand those different opportunities. They don't have to just go a GED route. They could go diploma completion or accelerated opportunities. So, and then obviously with our navigators, Martha is bilingual, so she matches with our Spanish speakers. And then we have 3 others, one who worked at Cloud County Community College for 30 years. So all our navigators have extensive knowledge with working with adults. So I think that that's one of our strongest assets.
Representative Roth.
Well, that actually sounds absolutely wonderful.
It is.
But my question is, you say you were in commerce budget. You're not included in the current budget, and why?
I'd have to, I can't answer that right now. I started in June, but from my understanding that we were not in House Bill 2007. It was in appropriations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, anyone else? Questions? I have a couple. Where's your home office and where are these navigators located and how do they reach out to people? Is it teleconference? Is it in person?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. My office is located in Wichita at the Wichita Chamber of Commerce. We have a board of directors that I respond to or follow up with every month. Our navigators are throughout the state. They work from home, and we did that intentionally. So this is a statewide initiative. So we have one that is in Merriam, one that's in Junction City, one in Hutch, and then one in Wichita. When they are communicating with our clients, that's via email and phone call. And that is through our CRM tool called HubSpot, where we're tracking that data. I would say all the decisions that we're making are very data-driven, trying to make sure that we get the best outcome for our adults.
Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for this information. On your presentation, you have a map that says we serve every corner of the state, but it's really hard to really, get a sense from this map of how many inquiries or clients that you are serving. Could you provide me some specific information to Wyandotte County on how many clients you are serving there in that county?
I'd have to follow up on that.
That would be great.
It is adjusted by population on that map.
Say that again?
It is adjusted by population density. So obviously your darker spots on there were the more populated spots for zip code, obviously.
Okay, so this is not an indication, this map, of who you're serving. This is just a zip code map.
Yeah, that's where our leads are coming in from, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? So you've received 2.5 million. You've been active since when? And how many people have you served since becoming active?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So we really took off in September. thing. On the map, you can see that on the first couple of pages, I believe it's page 2, you can see how many people, the 32,675 Kansans who have requested some type of information. I do want to clarify a couple things on that because you get down to where it shows how many people are at the community college level. That number does not reflect those who are sending to workforce referrals, apprenticeships, and other organizations. So that number is just a direct reflection of those who we have directly handed off. We also believe that some of those adults take the information we give them and they run with it and do it themselves. We've seen that a little bit as well, and then obviously some that just need a little bit more guidance through the process.
So the 569 on this page are the ones that have actually gone ahead to the higher education process in one way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Not necessarily somebody that's finished up a GED and working somewhere.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions for Level Up Kansas? If not, thank you, Kaylee, for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So with that, I'll turn your attention to written testimony from the Travel Industry Association of Kansas and the Mahaffey Stagecoach Stop and Farm Historic Site. And I believe those two are supportive of the Sunflower Program, if that's what I'm remembering. That's that summer tourist program. Kansas Wesleyan, they presented in here a week ago yesterday about regenerative farming. KC BioHub presented on that Monday as well. Junior Achievement presented that day as well. And Leading Age Higher Paths, those were the 4 that presented a week ago yesterday. So you can review that, and we will look at any of those tomorrow when we work the budget. So Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question regarding the Sunflower Summer Program. Of course, we're getting, I assume everybody's getting a lot of contact regarding that program. And so my question is, the way that that program is structured, is there the ability to look at modifying that? Or I guess this might be a question for staff, is the criteria set that we fund, that all the children have free entrance and then we pay for the tickets also for 2 adults? Is that set in stone in some way in the bill or statute? Or can we ask for them to consider some modifications and then what that cost would be? It would be nice to know that, like if we fund it at a certain level, making some modifications, that we still have a viable program or not.
Thank you for that question. I believe I can answer it, and if I don't answer it adequately, Rachel will have it. Yes, and she talked about flexibility as far as the length of the season of visitors. You know, that can change things, possibly only allowing for 1 adult to get free admission and the other would pay, those kind of things. So I believe there is flexibility to adjust the program so that it could still be functional. Rachel? Okay, thank you. Representative Roth.
Just a comment, there's, committee, there's a lot of cool things that we've seen that's going on, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity tomorrow as we work this bill to probably make some adjustments and do some things to try to keep things going. But the state is flush with $2 billion, and so there ought to be a little bit of money where we can do something for some of these, unless that's hands-off money, which I don't know whether it is or not, But with that flush amount of money, we should be able to help some of these programs either get started or continue or whatever. And that's just my opinion, like a belly button. We all got it. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Roth. And that is a fact, but I will remind everyone that we have been tasked with keeping our budget stable. What's the right word, Charday? Stable. So we'll see where the committee feels tomorrow on a plethora of different ideas about spending dollars. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.